Hello and welcome back to Buckle Up. I'm Harry King and this is the KGM Rexton Commercial, a new car in a growing segment, sort of luxury SUVs converted to be tax deductible vans. And today I'm going to find out, number one, why people have started doing this, and number two, if this one is any good. As usual, we'll start here at the front, although I'm actually not going to get too bogged down in the styling because, despite the fact this is a commercial vehicle, this is pretty much unchanged from the standard Rexton, which is pretty much unchanged from when the company was called SsangYong rather than KGM. They've even got the same logo still, which is weird because that logo is two sets of dragon's wings. SsangYong meant double dragon, whereas KGM is just some letters, but I suppose they decided that was slightly more evocative than just having KGM written across the front. Big grille, lots of chrome, very in your face, lots of presence. Let's talk about, though, why these cars have started emerging. Now, obviously, for a while, there's been a commercial variant of the Land Rover Defender, the Land Rover Discovery, and, more recently, the Ineos Grenadier. However, over the last year or so, we've also had the Land Cruiser Commercial, this, and an interesting new addition, an Isuzu D-Max dual cab, but with no rear seats. So it's like a super commercial because it's got a pickup bed and then a sort of interior van space. All of these cars are becoming more popular or becoming more provided for because of the changes around tax, around commercial vehicles. And I think the manufacturers anticipate that this will lead to people who had been buying dual cab pickup trucks, who like all of the extra luxury and refinement that had been coming along with them to make them appealing to those buyers. They won't want to go back now to your plastic bumpers and your vinyl interior. They're going to want to buy something nice to go to the job site in, and they're like the boss or one of the people who just comes in a Sparky or something. I don't know. I'm not really in on the trades banter. I don't know who the poshest person on the job site is. In my mind, it's the Sparky, but it could be the plumber. Who knows? Although plumbers, I feel like plumbers roll about in old Escort vans. We're getting off topic anyway. So this is it. This is the new Luxo option for the man about the job site or the lady about the job site who wants to roll up in something flash. It's nice and comfortable. Maybe you've got to do a lot of miles between sites as well. This is the option. Let's see, though, how they're executed putting that commercial space in. I think we're going to have to spin the car around, but we'll show you the boot or van space. Load bay? We'll do that now. Just before we dive into the back, though, I've skipped the side because there's not much to talk about. This is a K50, that's the top trim, so it gets large chrome wheels. The K30 gets some rather nice diamond cut wheels instead. I admit that I do prefer those, actually, over these chromed ones. Both trim levels get the side step, and otherwise, everything is the same as the non-commercial Rexton. Well, actually, all of those things are the same on the non-commercial Rexton as well. Just thought it was worth mentioning. Here we have the back. As you can see, it's one large liftgate, KGM logo down here, tow bar. Now, this is part of the reason you might want this car. So you might have had, I don't know, a V6 Amarok or one of the 200 horsepower Rangers because you're a towist. So you want something nice that's nice to drive around in, that will go a long distance and it won't tire you out. This will do 3.5 tons, same as those other ones, and you get the nice interior. But of course, you now also get, if I open up the electronic tailgate, 2,200 litres of humongous storage. It is cavernous in here. What they've done is they've taken out the false boot floor, so this is straight down here now. This doesn't lift up at all. This is as low down in the car as you can get. And then they've kind of built a plinth out over where the seat bases were to make it continuous and flat. That does mean you lose a tiny bit of space in where the rear footwells would have been. You do sort of get an under storage area which you can reach into from the front seats. So that's sort of handy. But to make this box-like and practical, they have lost a little bit of outright storage space. I think that's fine, though. You also get a full height bulkhead. It's bolt-in, so if you're not putting anything particularly heavy back here, I guess you could remove it, or you could switch out for maybe something that's half height. I'm not sure how well that would attach, though, because obviously it's still got doors. And actually, speaking of those doors, I can get onto the other reason why manufacturers have decided that this would be an easier way to plug that gap of providing luxury pickup trucks. It doesn't really cost them that much money to make these because they have to make it in a luxury variant anyway. I don't know if we're going to start seeing the luxury trims pulled back out of pickup trucks so they can focus on what's most profitable. I know that, for example, something like 80% of Isuzu's sales are on the V-Cross at the moment still, so I think there is still a market there, even if people are having to pay a little bit more. They're still happy to, in order to get what they want. But this already has all the luxury stuff in it, but that also means that they leave all the they don't bother re-engineering stuff to make this. So I've still got the fan blower selector for the third row passengers and the 12-volt sockets, which is quite handy in the little storage trays, because you might want to just stick something there or put something on charge while it's back here. But also it means you still get the window blinds on the back windows, but then the back windows have been completely filled in with like a wooden panel. It's not possible to open them. Payloads. So as I've said, 3.5 tons here. Payload in here is over 700 kilograms. I don't know why KGM have quoted it like that. Not very helpful. Some sources are saying 750, although to me, if you say over X number, it's going to be just over, and you wanted to kind of make it appear bigger in people's minds. So it could be 702 kg. I think that's very decent, though. Obviously, you've got to bear in mind you've got your nose weight on any trailer that'll cut into that. But a very large, very practical space for all of your gear if you need to take it onto a muddy job site or off-road or anywhere else. Let's hop in the cabin, though, and see what the luxury is like. So here we are in the aforementioned front seats. Let's start with the positives. If I turn this round, you can see that this interior is just lovely. I've got these fabric inserts on the dash, on the door. I've got full electric leather seats, which are heated and cooled. I've got bright work on the dash. It's soft touch up here. I've got a nice large infotainment screen and a digital driver's display, multi-function steering wheel with all the controls you could possibly want, and I've even got a diddy little sunroof that just covers me here. That manual control there. It's all really rather nice. If I go down to the center console, I've also got lots of nice kind of pullback storage, 2 USB-Cs, another cubby in here, nice BMW-esque, although it's actually quite distinct in itself, but it is just a nice shift controller and my various controls here, as well as my selectable 4-wheel drive system. Nice big center console storage area as well, with a 12-volt socket in it, if you can see that. And as I mentioned, you can kind of stick stuff in this gap down here that you want in the cabin, like jackets, that sort of thing, because obviously you've got a full bulkhead there. I do have a couple of complaints. So the first one is this infotainment screen. It is lovely. However, if I want to do the volume on the screen, I have to pull down from the top, which is not ideal. I much prefer having a rotary volume control. I do mention it a lot in reviews because I do just think it's the best way of doing things. There's a couple of other bits in here that I found a little bit odd. The first ones are definitely, it's not been properly looked at while it's gone back to the press garage. So I've got the test drive car from Electric Everything sticker still in the interior, which is an interesting thing. Also, the back is full of a sort of oily residue that's not been properly cleaned. One of the door retainer, you know, the little bar that sticks out of the door that stops it opening too wide, isn't screwed in properly. I will probably tighten that up myself, having noticed it. And also, when I'm parked on a hill, it sometimes takes a moment to start. So I'm just wondering if it's not quite been looked after properly. I don't know if it's getting used and abused a bit more because it's the commercial vehicle or what. But the company that should be looking after it also look after all the Stellantis vehicles, and they're always well maintained. So I'm not quite sure what's gone on here. And I don't want to hold it against the car, because I've had multiple vehicles on this platform. I've had the Rexton under SsangYong's name. I've had the Musso both under SsangYong and under KGM. All on this platform. All have worked completely fine. So in general, I trust this car. It also has a 5-year warranty, 100,000 miles. And in general, it seems very well put together. Everything feels really properly chunky and, you know, like it's ready for work. But, yeah, I just want to mention those things just in case. Last thing, though, seating position. So, as I've mentioned, they're electric seats. I'm actually all the way down in the car right now. I've only just got enough headroom. I don't know if you can see that. However, compared to most vans, I do have lots of room to stretch out. So this seat isn't even all the way back. I've actually got space before the bulkhead, which is slightly unusual because I do sit quite far back. So lots of space in that sense. And this is a proper body-on-frame SUV, like the Land Cruiser, like the Ineos Grenadier. So I'm sitting up properly high, even though I'm in terms of sitting in the cabin, I'm not like perched too much like up over the windows or anything, just because of the 4x4 system, the proper chassis, and then the body. You're naturally up quite high. You've got a good command seating position. I've got nice big windows as well, so you do get nice visibility. Obviously, as you can see, the back is all sort of blacked out, those windows there. So checking your rear 3/4 can be a little bit tricky. However, I do get, if I turn this on, surround view cameras. And they do all the way around the car. So you go to the front, the back, you can have it in 3D mode. And that, look, that's really nice and responsive and fast. The Rexton enjoys a surprisingly good turning circle, so it's nice and easy to manoeuvre in town. However, before I say anything more about how it drives, shall we actually go and start driving it? Okay, so driving the KGM Rexton Commercial vehicle. Let's start with how this differs from the standard Rexton, because a lot of things are the same. The main difference is refinement, and that's just cabin refinement. So because you don't have a fully fitted interior anymore, and you do have bolted in bits of metal, just basically, there is a larger, more echoey space, and also anything back there does rattle a little bit, and because it's not a sealed bulkhead, it can be quite loud. I think in terms of commercial vehicles, very, very plush in here actually, especially because of all of the niceness of the interior up here in the front, but that is just worth noting over the standard Rexton. With that out of the way, let's get on to the good stuff. I'll start with the figures. So you get KGM's own 2.2 litre diesel engine, 4-cylinder, 202 PS, 440 newton meters of torque. Very healthy figures, certainly enough if you want to go and tow 3.5 tons. This should not struggle. 8-speed automatic gearbox as well, and it is nice and smooth, much smoother than the gearboxes offered by Isuzu and Toyota. I think really that is where this excels, is as a tow rig, because you do lose out on some off-roady stuff compared to the rivals. So while I do have full low-range 4-wheel drive, I don't have any kind of locking differential. My approach departs from breakover angles and wading depth all aren't quite as good as the pickup truck rivals, or the Land Cruiser, or the Ineos Grenadier, or the Defender. But what I have is a really nice cabin, and I have the ability to tow 3.5 tons. And that seems like ideal place for this. It just as a really sturdy, and don't get me wrong, really, really sturdy on-road tow rig. Don't get me wrong, these are still capable off-road vehicles. To get the most out of them, you have to go into the aftermarket though. And there is stuff out there for them, but other things are available straight from the manufacturer with everything you need on it. So it kind of depends what sort of person you are. The price difference, you feel it in the savings. It's not like they're skimping on equipment, but you're still paying as much as you would be for a Land Cruiser. This is much, much cheaper. It's very nice to see. So, yeah. The only thing that would hold me back from thoroughly recommending this as a tow rig is because this has hydraulic steering and because this is a slightly older platform. This doesn't have radar cruise and it doesn't have auto steer. Now, I know lots of people don't bother with them even if they are fitted, so maybe that's not a problem for you, but it's just not available on this platform. KGM have started introducing it on their newer vehicles, but at the moment they're all petrol or electric. There is nothing there that's really strong in the towing department, so that's kind of my limitation. I do get normal cruise control though. I find that to be perfectly good at what it does. Speedo has a tendency to fairly significantly overread by about 4 miles an hour. Despite the fact this is a big, heavy, body-on-frame SUV, I've been getting 32 mpg while I've had it, which I think is very reasonable. Extremely reasonable. Now, the Isuzu D-Max will do that, but the Isuzu D-Max is weakest at towing. But the rest of the driving experience, hydraulic steering, really nice actually. Still very, very light, but when you're in a corner, you get a much better sense of what's going on than you really do in any of the other cars in this class. Which sounds weird to say, this is like so not a sporty SUV. It does also corner surprisingly flatly as well. Seats are super comfortable. I've got my cooled seat on right now because it's an October day. I've had all of my outer garb on to keep me warm outside, and now when I get in, I don't want to get too hot against the seat. Cooled seat, perfect. When KGM announced they were going to make this vehicle, I did think it was a little odd. Land Rover have been doing this sort of thing for ages, so I guess they know that they have buyers out there. But actually, now I'm in here, this does just make lots of sense. I can absolutely see a business case for this, and if you're interested in getting a new tow car and you don't need 5 seats in it, which you probably don't, I would strongly recommend going and checking this car out. Let's go back though and do a proper conclusion. So, the KGM Rexton Commercial, what am I thinking? This is by quite some margin the cheapest car in this segment at the moment, and just as with the normal Rexton, I do think that you won't miss most of the things you're not paying for. The interior is lovely. You've just about got enough tech. It's very comfortable, especially the seats. And it's got a nice, powerful diesel engine that's as refined as the one in the Land Cruiser, I would argue. Obviously, you don't have 6-cylinder options like you get in the Grenadier and the Land Rover, but the Toyota's down there as well, and the Toyota is, I think, the second most expensive. Do I understand these vehicles? I mean, I'm not sure they'll be the hit that the manufacturers expect them to be. I appreciate there definitely is a market out there for people who were actually using dual cab pickup trucks, who will still want something nice to go to the worksite in, but who don't need 5 seats. But I think it's going to be quite limited. I think the reason those dual cab pickups were so successful is you could put your family in them as well as take them to the job site, which obviously you can't do here. But if you are interested in a Luxo van, I would definitely recommend the KGM Rexton. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. If you go down into the description, find all the links to all our social medias. You'll also find 2 ways you can directly support the channel. So we have merchandise and we have channel memberships right here on YouTube. So please go and do one or all of those things, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.